and this one needs its own sit down and talk about it. It really does. It's
the Jam Fam family. We're Irie, living the good life. We're royal, cruising through the West Indies, having fun, enjoying the good life. Jam Fam family, the Jam Fam family, yeah. Jam Fam, come hang with me.
Eliona has been hinting that she's longing to have onion bhaji, and so I decided this morning that I'm going to make her some and give her a surprise. So, Eliona!
Yes.
Come here.
Onion bhaji.
Surprise! Bon appetit!
Thank you.
Okay, let me know how it goes. And that's it. She's off with a smile on her face. Okay? Okay then. I'm happy to take the hug. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Later. Hello, Wagwan. Pick up yourself, whether you're there yard or you're there abroad. Welcome back to another one of our Jam Fam episode. So it's running very cold at the moment in Jamaica, sort of like late autumn, early spring type of cold. And so I've made sure to put my cardigan on and come outside, as they would say, if you come warm some sun. But I wanted to talk to you about some of the struggles that I've had moving to Jamaica. And the struggles will be different for different people. So I'm just going to go through a few of the things that I find a struggle. And you might be able to relate to it from your visits before, you might not, but we'll see how it goes. So one of my biggest struggle that I have so far is sort of the mindset, you know? And it becomes more and more obvious the more you travel and see things from different perspectives. So it's a matter of just perspective and how you see it. It's just, you go and you see, like, some people, some of their decisions they make, you can just see the way they treat people, the way they respond to situations. It's just so short term in terms of how they're planning it out, and there's just such a high dopamine crave. And when you see how sometimes the people behave and how they treat other people, you can just see, you know, the low self-esteem. So for example, if I go out into the town to sort out some stuff and I just dress casually, wearing my Crocs and just my holiday bags sash over me and walk out there, the attitude and that I get from people when I go into organization is very different from if I decide that I'm going to dress semi-formally, for example, and go out there, or even dress formally. It's just the difference where, you know, it's just, people just feel like because you now dress up in a certain way means that it adds value to you in any way, shape or form, and not understanding the person that is underneath all of that some of the times. And I know this happens in societies in different places, but sometimes it's just so blatant that you just can't forego not seeing it. And the other thing too is also the conditioning, which is, you can see that it's I know from that it's a cycle, you know, as it goes through the cycle, year after year, generation after generation, and it's a recycled condition of thinking that foreign better, or if people come back home, then these must be the situation. They must either be very rich so they can afford to come back home, or they must have been deported, or life is so hard with them, or all of these different things, which is just like, I do not need to explain anything about my life to you, because I don't owe you that much. I don't even know you that way to have that sort of conversation is sometimes what they don't seem to understand. That is just an invasive thing now if you're going to want to sit down and ask people those things when you don't have that type of relationship with them in the first place. And the other point I find is the lack of emotional intelligence, and sometimes you find that people don't really get the time to really sit down and evaluate and assess themselves. So in a sense, I am forgiving to these things, but it's something that needs to change at its very core. So for example, customer service, you go and you're trying to have a conversation with them, and then they use these psychological things, and I don't even think they realize that that's what they're doing, unless you really sit to think about what they've done and the impact it has on other people. So for example, I needed to sort out something the other day, and I called up and I was like, this is my situation now with this issue, and I need it to be resolved. So can you just explain to me when it's going to be resolved, because it's been going on for this long? And I was told, other people in the area are having the same problems. Well, that doesn't help me with my situation, so telling me that, like, how does that help? Or the delay in which simple things that shouldn't be taking that long sometimes take, because they're not taking the care to give you that customer experience that you need to have, really, with the fact that you're their client and you're seeking to do business with them, and it's profiting them just as much as it's profiting you, if not profiting them more, because at the end of it, it's their source of income that they need for their survival. So if you took your business elsewhere, they would more likely than not be out of a job if people are taking their businesses elsewhere because their customer service is so terrible. And so, but I do know that there are some places that you go and the service is good. So and even in the same organization, some people you work with and you go to, and the service they provide you is so unsatisfactory, and then you find a bright spark in that organization who gives you such a good service that you just have to stop to wonder why the difference, and why isn't this being recognized on a higher level so that people are trained up to do better with it. Also, the thing about the communal space sharing, like sometimes you have to realize even if it's my right of way, I need to learn to just stop and give way sometimes, because to not do that, if we're both going and saying we're going to go, then we're going to create problems. Or the thing that irritated me in the UK, it irritates me here. Like, you have a rubbish bin, just use it. Why are you dropping it on the floor for other people to now have to experience a mess as they are walking past? Or just hold it until you get to a bin and then drop it there. So things like that, when we're in communal spaces, it's just not at all right. And the thoughtlessness, you go into a taxi and somebody's there playing their device aloud with no earphones. I don't want to hear what you're playing. I don't want all of that in my brain. I need my own brain space. So it's things like that sometimes you look at it and you think, come on guys, let's not do this, because this is just not sociable behavior. Let's just be thoughtful in the way that we're interacting with each other. I know that we all want to experience or entertainment, or keep up and keep abreast and get ourselves to be busy, to not have to think or thoughts that are actually needed to be processed. But we need to find a better way of doing it. And then the noise pollution, the tooting of the horns unnecessarily, even at night. You're thinking, why are we tooting the horn right now? Does it really need tooting? And other things that's just, you're just thinking, this is just unnecessary. Guys, let's not do it. Oh, the other one, you go out and there is the music playing. It's playing in this place. Right next to it is another sound playing, and it's almost like, which one am I hearing? When they could all just agree, because they're all in the same shopping center or on the same plaza, just all agree and have a plaza PA system and just play the same music nicely and calmly within the space. You know, and the lack of accountability because of their lack of emotional intelligence. It's you're responsible for this. Just take responsibility and stop blaming it on other people. It's not this person's fault or that person's fault. What's your fault in the process? How about you do that rather than just complaining and whining and blaming everybody else instead of just looking at what you've done? And that, I know, isn't just common to Jamaica, but it irritates me nonetheless, because you come into contact with it so many times, because then somebody expects you to do this, for example with organizations, and this is why it irritates me, because in the organization they expect you to do something, and these are your things that you need to do on your end as a customer, and these are their things that they need to do as the organization. They're not doing theirs. They're not meeting their deadlines. They're not adhering to the things they say they would, but they are going to hold you ransom if you aren't at any point appearing to not do your part. And so that for me is just wrong, because if you are going to have high expectations of me, then you need to also model that same level of high expectations for yourself and showcase it to me, so that I can see that this is where we are at and this is our level of accountability in the process. And the next thing I find a challenge is the cost of things. So Jamaica is an importer country, not a producer country, and that definitely needs to change, because there are so many skills and expertise here that is just not channeled in the right way, and it needs to be. So for example, you go to buy the things that you are used to having and you want to have, and you have to pay such a premium, and of course we're going to have to pay a premium. They're imported. There is importation tax on those items. There is the travel for the shipment for it to come into the country. Those things aren't cheap. And then there is the internal logistics of getting it to the supermarkets where you are, and then there is the prime locations, which is also going to add premium depending on where you live in the country. So of course these things aren't going to be cheap. So I think locally made stuff is the way we've got to go. And the other thing with cost of things is how the prices of things fluctuate. Today this is what the price is, tomorrow it's the other, when you are in the market buying ground produce, or the way in which things just increase. Today you go out and this is how much you would have paid, and then all of a sudden you go out, there's a 20% markup, or sometimes even more, on the things that you used to buy before, and you're thinking, well, the pay package for the people who are earning to survive haven't gone up, and those people who are working remotely and earning in other currencies, the exchange rate hasn't gotten better for them, so they still have the same amount of money that they're spending. So why is that the case, you know? The other thing I find as a challenge is the political bureaucracy. The fact that everything seems to have several arms and stages, and so many of them are just unnecessary, and they send you into several different directions. It just delays your process. It just gets people to the point where they just become complacent and mediocre, because they just think, I'm going to have another setback and another setback, and before long it defeats the purpose. And with that also comes the expectations, where they don't realize that what you come to expect of people is oftentimes what they're going to do. And so if you're expecting good things, they're going to behave in that way, and if you're expecting bad things, oftentimes that's how it's going to manifest too, because the expectation is very clear and known. So that's also part of that problem. And this one needs its own sit down and talk about it. It really does. It's the cat calling. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The cat calling is another thing in and of itself. You walk out of your house, you walk anywhere you walk, it's just constant bombardment, and it's not like they're saying things that are wholesome or productive. It's just centered around one thing and one thing only, and it just objectifies you each time you go out. And you're like, if I didn't have high self-esteem, how would I manage when I go out and people say these men say these things and thinking they're saying something nice? And then on the other hand, for those women who have low self-worth, and then they hear these things and feel like these people are actually saying something complimentary or adding value, and then before you know it, they find themselves in precarious positions. And it's just something that we need to get to the place where we understand that men and women can be in a space and exist in that space without us having to overly sexualize it. It just doesn't need to be that way. And so for me, I know it's this now is an epidemic, the catcalling, but I really do wish that it would not be that way anymore. My neighbor over the other side over there is about 2 houses down. They're doing some work on their roof, busy making use of the time now that the rain season isn't upon us, as we're going through the colder months. And so I can see them over there on the roof working away to get it done. But those are some of the things that I find that I struggle with in Jamaica. So be mindful of those things when you are coming, and if you choose to move to Jamaica, and then figure out how it is that you are going to adapt and adjust to it over time. And again, remember, depending on where in the country you are, some of these things might not necessarily be as prevalent, but nonetheless they're going to be there. Okay, so it's just thinking about how to work around it all, really. Took out my breadfruit out of the freezer and just soaked it in a little bit of, after it thawed, I soaked it in a little bit of salt water. I've cut them up into pieces, have some here in the pot frying, and so I'm just going to let them fry just to get to a nice brown color and then serve them. I'll show you how I serve them shortly. So this is one of the serving setup. So that's just leaf, mince, plantain, and breadfruit. And I will show you the other setup for non-leaf eaters. And this is the option with chicken stew. How do you like your breadfruit? Tell us in the comments below. Thank you for spending the time with us today on Jam Fam. We look forward to seeing you in the next one. So bye for now.